Which of Apple's iPads should you buy this year? Well, if you want the 10-second answer, here it is. For 90% of you watching this, the answer is probably the iPad Air. If you need to know why, or you're still not sure, stick with me. I'm going to guide you through all the important questions you need to ask. I'll share my hands-on experience with each of these iPads, and I'll clear up all the accessory chaos to make sure, generally, you don't buy the wrong thing. Cool, folks, I've been trying to make this video all year, but every time I sat down to make it, Apple just released another new model. I think we're safe now though, and on the plus side, I've had hands-on with all of the latest iPads this year, so I can give you some pretty surefire recommendations. Now, before we go through each model, here's a little decision tree that might just make things super easy for you. Question 1. Do you need ProMotion, 120Hz, and that super bright tandem OLED display? If the answer is yes, the only thing you need to buy is the iPad Pro. Either the latest M5 edition or last year's M4 model will do. If the answer is no, let's get to the next question. Will you use a keyboard a lot or want a big canvas to draw or write on if you're an artist or extensive note taker? If the answer is yes, you probably need to look at the latest iPad Air model, which is really capable. No? Well, let's try the next question. Is portability, mobile gaming, and A5 notebook-sized tableting your thing? Well, good news, you'll be wanting the iPad mini. If you've answered no to all these questions, you probably just want an iPad to watch Netflix on and make occasional FaceTime calls and browse the internet. Maybe you're on a bit of a budget, in which case Apple's 11th gen base model is the one you should go for. Now, that is the big picture. Let's take a drive-by past each of these models so that I can give you my take on which kind of use case would shortlist each of these for you. First up, we have Apple's most expensive, thinnest iPad available, the iPad Pro. They've just updated this model with the blisteringly fast M5 chip, and it's the only iPad with 120Hz ProMotion and dual stacked OLED displays. If screen quality, fast transfer speeds, and raw power are your non-negotiables, this is the one for you. You'd probably better check your bank balance first though, because this one can get really pricey, especially if you get into those top storage tiers. Unless you've got money to burn and you just want the very best iPad, you should buy the iPad Pro if you're a professional video, photo, or audio editor and you absolutely need all that power and transfer speeds. And also, maybe you're the kind of person who just notices a 60Hz display immediately and it ruins your day. Having the very best OLED panel might be really important to you if you're going to do loads of work on this and you just need really accurate, bright colors. The iPad Pro comes with its own keyboard, of course, if you want to convert this into a kind of laptop replacement, and you can now hook this up to a decent monitor and mirror the 120Hz refresh rate through a Thunderbolt cable, which is pretty cool. The Pro model is also the only one that offers the fancy nano texture glass option, which does magical things to glare if you're working in a brightly lit environment. But, you know, I'd say just get a decent matte screen protector and that'll do the same thing for a fraction of the cost. I would say skip this one if you're only going to use your iPad occasionally or if you're price sensitive. Trust me, if you buy this and it sits around gathering dust, you'll just depress yourself. And honestly, you'll get better value in the Air, which is coming up next. But first, a very quick pit stop. If you're wanting to use your iPad for more than scrolling, I reckon these two accessories from my friends at ESR will turn it into both a laptop replacement and a note-taking device, but without having to pay crazy Apple accessory money. Number one is their Shift keyboard case. This is a proper backlit keyboard with a big edge-to-edge trackpad and multiple stand modes, landscape and portrait, so that you can actually type your essay in vertical views like a normal document. And because it's Bluetooth, the keyboard still works even when you detach it to prop the iPad further away from you in a different orientation. I've been using this in both couch mode and in portrait to draft scripts, which lets me use all my favorite trackpad gestures, and also in desk mode with the stand's multiple angles so that my neck doesn't turn into a question mark. The Shift case gives you proper stability, and it actually weighs way less than my MacBook Pro when I want to be out doing laptop stuff but without all the weight of my laptop. Number two is ESR's Geo Digital Pencil. This is a much more cost-effective alternative to the Apple Pencil Pro. And when I say cost-effective, this is about a quarter of the price of Apple's version. You'll still get some great features though, including fast charging via USB-C. In fact, 30 minutes of charge will give you 12 hours of use. It also has Apple Find My integration and a shortcut button with a battery display too. And unlike Apple's options, this actually comes in a range of colors, and of course, is also smooth and precise when whether you're drawing or writing. I've left some links to buy these for your iPad model below, and thanks to ESR for sponsoring this one. Next up is the iPad Air, which I happen to think is the sweet spot for a lot of people. It has the same modern design language, a lovely bright screen, and M-class performance, which means you can also connect this one up to a screen to pretend like it's a laptop, and it comes in 2 sizes. It's a great companion if you're a student or an office worker. I think you should buy the iPad Air if you don't need the power of the Pro, but you still want the option of having a keyboard and an Apple Pencil. The 13-inch option is actually great if you want a bigger iPad that can be a true laptop alternative, but you don't want to pay all that Pro money for it. In terms of the kind of work that you can do here, the M3 chip in the latest iPad Air is really powerful. I mean, it's powerful enough to run a full Apple laptop, so it'll do all sorts for you, except the heaviest kind of creative work. You'll find it more than capable to do things like playing games, photo editing, video editing, and recording podcasts, as well as classic productivity work. I would say skip this if you want something light. Despite being called the Air, this is actually one of Apple's heaviest iPads, especially that big 13-inch boy. Also skip this if you absolutely need the ProMotion OLED display that you find on the Pros, and also if you only watch Netflix and email people on your iPad, just save your money and get one of the next 2 instead. Next up we have the base iPad, which is now on the 11th generation. This one is for those who just want to keep it simple. And that's not a bad thing. After all, iPads come into their own as a content consumption device, and this one does that just fine. This iPad now comes in 120GB storage for the base pricing tier, which is probably the one to go for if you're a basic user and you've got access to something like iCloud for storing your photos. It's also just over $300, which is a brilliant entry price if you've never had an iPad before, or if you want a new iPad but you don't have bags of cash to splash on one. I would say buy this one if you want light productivity and extensive content consumption on a budget, or maybe just a screen for your kids or someone from an older generation who might be unlikely to want to do anything out of the ordinary on their tablet or would even notice the benefits of the performance that you get in the M3, M4 or M5 chips. I'd say skip this one if you're sensitive to non-laminated displays and can't help but notice the slight air gap between the panels. Also avoid this one if you want lots of storage or if you want to use the fancy hover features of the Apple Pencil Pro, because this is the only iPad that doesn't support it. Also, in the highly unlikely event that you want the ability to use some of the Apple Intelligence features, don't buy the base iPad, as the underpowered chip just will not have the ability to run it, ever. I can't really believe that I just talked about Apple Intelligence as a feature that you might want to shortlist, because we're still 18 months since it was released and it's still less useful than the letter G in lasagna. And that brings us to the iPad mini, now on the 7th generation. Now, I've made no secret of the fact that I love this iPad. It's a notebook-sized tablet that's perfect for notes, reading, comics, gaming, and hear me out, intentional phone replacement time. You can also use it in a pinch for light productivity work with some workarounds. I'd say buy this if you're all about portability. You can literally fit this in a pocket and you can easily use it one-handed. I'd also say buy this if your primary use case is digital note-taking or maybe reading. It's a great Kindle replacement and it has one of the highest pixels per inch on any Apple device. On the other hand, skip this if you struggle with smaller screens or if you get reading fatigue from having small text, which you will need to use if you want to maximize this 8-inch display. Also skip this if you want a true laptop-ish setup. It is possible with some workarounds, but you wouldn't want to work on this all the time and it looks utterly horrible connected to a display. And also, an important one that a lot of people don't talk about, don't get this if you're sensitive about bezels or screen brightness, as this one only offers 500 nits. My new iPhone 17 Pro deals out 3000 nits, and seeing them next to each other is actually quite a noticeable difference now. Well, there we are folks, hopefully that has cleared things up for you. If you're still not sure, I do get it. Apple don't exactly make it easy to decide which of these you should buy, but fear not, I made a free downloadable guide which you can grab at this link, which takes you through all the latest models and also offers some alternatives that you might want to pick up refurbished to make the most of your investment. Let me know how you get on. And if you're still on the fence, it might be that you just need a MacBook, in which case this video here should be the next thing you watch. See you next time.